my god! This is what it looked like at frustration 10.5 out of 10. I got up 5 o'clock, 5:30 this morning. I was going to get a regular, as many voices as I could get out heard this morning right on time again. Excuse me, from the man cave before I heated up and the sun's swapping around later in the day. And I thought that you could record using Zoom and save the video to your laptop, which you can do when we do a Zoom meeting like Nino and I did. I'm new to the Zoom thing. There's a feature on there called Clips, and you can record. I thought that was what I was supposed to use because I wasn't in a meeting. That would save me time because if I record on the DSLR like I am right now, to take that SD, put it in here, load it to the program, which takes forever. Even it doesn't matter. Load it on the computer or load it onto the program. It takes forever. Then exporting takes forever. And then I gotta load it onto YouTube. Edit it. Get all those photographs that are sent to me and load them on Dropbox. Open up Dropbox, download them onto the laptop, download them onto the program. It's a bit of a process at times, right? So, guess what time it is now? It is 11:30 a.m. Turns out I recorded over an hour worth of emails on the Zoom and I can't save the file to my computer. So I grabbed my microphone, set it up between the two speakers and hit play and I went out fencing. I had to record just the audio again. What a pain in the ass. Anyway, I got it done, so now I'm going to load it on the program. Well, you're already watching this right now, so I have. That's what's happened, so now you're going to have to look at some B-roll, which I took a bunch of the SD card content from the trail cameras and I put it on here for you to watch while you listen to the voices. So, that's what happened today. Tomorrow, back to normal. Smooth. Holy cow. Alright, so I'm doing something different this morning. I'm using the Zoom app, which I did the Zoom video with Nino. Apparently you can record with it, so I'm using the webcam to record instead of the camera. Now this might save me a pile of time because when I use the Canon DSLR, then I have to take that SD card, slam it into the computer, then it loads the files onto the editing program, which takes for frickin' ever, like a long time. Like I can go and feed the horses and do a chore and come back in here. And then finally loads up, and I got to edit, and then I have to export it onto the laptop, and that takes forever again. So let's see if this saves some time. Now my complexion, the colors seem a little off in this video, but whatever, it gives a shit, right? It's not about it's not about my looks, that's for sure. So that's what I'm doing. Now, where to start? First off, one thing for certain about this group of people that are here via this channel is when someone needs help, all I gotta do is ask and it arrives pretty freaking quick. It's pretty cool. You know, I asked yesterday if anybody knew if I could, as an example, I asked if I could spray paint the dish. I think somebody even got a reply from Elon Musk himself on Twitter. Said, yep, you can, as long as there's no metals in the paint. And I must have had dozens of people emailing me about the answer to my question that I put out there, if you can paint the dish for the Starling. So, thank you so much for that help. Speaking of help, Hawaii. I've looked into the Hawaii fires and how help has been blocked. And how a lot of the locals are complaining about all the big names. Jason Momoa and all these other people are making videos saying, don't go to Maui, don't go to Maui, to visit the fires or help the fires. But meanwhile, that's making their economy absolutely be annihilated. The people that aren't affected by the fires directly, right? There's a whole rest of the island there that depends on people coming there and bringing their money. And so it's basically the perfect storm to annihilate the frickin' place. So I know there was a lot of help here. Now, if somebody could possibly show me a link to somewhere where concerned people here could possibly send a few dollars and be certain that the people get 100% of that money, send it to me. And we'll make that known here amongst ourselves, all right? Because I've seen, I don't know how many of the people there I have seen putting their firsthand experiences online of how they've been affected, what's being prevented, the help's being prevented from reaching them, all sorts of. It's just a ridiculous, heartbreaking thing to watch, and especially when you see the people absolutely passionate and explaining how you all know what's going on with the WAR and how much money, particularly from the U.S., has gone there. It's pretty shameful. And then the goon Ding Dong in charge just announced the other day, we're going to give $700 to each person in Hawaii to really help them get going. Really? So just that fact right there, listening to that man's passionate frustration about that fact alone triggered me into needing to help if I can, which I will sound that alarm with all of you. But first, you guys, we got to find out a very solid route to help the people in Hawaii first, so that to be certain they get those funds directly and swiftly and nobody else gets them. Some dirtbag, right? Administration fees. You know what I mean? Because it's very wrong. Now, what do we got going on? Let's have a looky. Excuse me. Let's have a looky. I went down to the river last evening and retrieved some SD cards, swapped them out. And it's funny, I saw a big cat. A big cat was on the camera. This is just right down there. It's right there, right? And I haven't seen him before. And I don't know what it is. I've had, who knows how many. I've had hundreds of cougars on my trail cameras. Hundreds in the past. No big deal. It's a cat. But there's something struck a chord with me with that particular cat. I posted him last night too. I guess there's a setting to fix that. Anyways, there's dozens and dozens of bears in that camera. Right down there. And some of them are absolute freakish sized monstrous black bears. Big deal. Doesn't fizzle me the slightest, right? I've had in the past, I've been sitting on a log, pre-testing my trail camera, hit record, let it turn it on, set a log in front of it, I've got up, and then I've taken the SD card out, put it in my reader, checked it on my phone, yep, it works, turned it on my left, and when I came back a couple weeks later, a big cat, came down and walked across the log I was sitting on in the direction I left. It was 2 minutes or a minute and a half after I got up from the log to walk away to head to start hiking out. That sucker walked across that log. He knew he was obviously sitting there watching me, and he didn't even stop to pause to hit my scent on the log because obviously he already had it. And that log they walked across would have been like us walking into a frickin' buffalo passing wind. That's how strong our scent is to these creatures, right? So 110% that big cat knew I was there, was watching me, knew my scent, and he continued on following me. What a dirtbag, right? But big cats are opportunists, so my gut was on fire watching that big cat on my SD card last night. And I don't know why, and I hope it's not a prelim to something that might be coming around here. I already had a friend of mine chime in who lives not far from here, and he's a very, very skilled houndsman with getting cats. And he's like, that's a big cat, let's get him. I'm like, well, we just might have to, right? Before something goes down. Anyways, living rural, living in the real world, things happen, things you got to deal with. Now, let's get some more emails heard here, shall we? Here's a few recent. Finally got to sit down and have coffee with Sarah this morning. I haven't done that for over a week and a half or something. I got my second one on the go, so look out. This is titled 10 Questions for Sabe Plus Your Answers. Dear Mr. Isdall, about 3 weeks ago, July 2023, you put out a video with your 10 questions for Sasquatch. Hope this audio is working. I don't even know. I didn't even test it first. What a dummy. Oh well, let's hope it is. A week or two later, a Mr. Bill Turley from Ohio wrote in with your answers. However, his letter was slightly confusing, and you said something about not being sure what he was referring to. In order to clear up the issue, I will write out your questions for Sabe, followed by the response from Mr. Turley. Who's Mr. Turley? As stated in his letter to you. All right, so here's my questions. Remember I said what would be your 10 top questions if you could ask these people? So here we go. I don't know. Let's just read it. Here's my questions and I guess my answers from the source, from the source of the answers. I don't know. Number 1, do you know who I am? Reply, yes. Number 2, do you know my true history? Replied, yes, but not what you have been taught many cycles before this one. Number 3, who are you? Reply, the people. Number 4, tell me your true history as a people. Reply, Creator made us to serve him, not you. Number 5, who insists you remain hidden from us? Reply, Creator. Number 6, who seeks you out to eliminate, bracket, kill, and bracket, you? Reply, the government. Number 7, do you take the lives of other beings, including humans? Reply, yes. Number 8, can you share all the skills you have with me? Reply, can tell you, but you may not understand all. Number 9, do you know if I can become aware of and utilize the same skills as you? Reply, no. Some things are impossible, others require help. Some you may remember. Number 10, what do you know of true evil and how to eliminate / stop it from harming my people? Reply, what you say is evil, I may say is good. That's kind of dark. I believe answer 10 was followed by a comment from Mr. Turley, quote, I could go deeper, but some need a face-to-face or a novel, end quote. Presumably he meant he could provide more detail regarding your questions. My notes say he was the third email from the end of your video on August 3rd, 2022, if you want to track him down. I will, because this is going right over my head right now. Thank you for your tireless efforts to give a voice to the people. Sorry. If you read this aloud, I hope you will share an important message for me, for those listening who are in pain. I broke my back 15 years ago, crushed a few bones, lost a bunch of discs. Last fall, a Christian faith healer took away all my back pain. It was so funky, brother, especially since I was again organized religion in the extreme. She even fixed my knee and made my leg grow like an inch before my eyes. This got me to start researching prayer and energy healing. This winter I had aggravated an old broken joint in my chest. It hurt like the first time it broke. Difficult to breathe or move my arms, etc. After a video from Steve, a Qigong, or Chinese yoga, video popped on. Master Chunyi Lin, demonstrating the sword fingers technique. I tried it on myself, and in 5 minutes I was able to take deep breaths again and swing my arms freely. It was amazing. I share these two stories because I spent 15 years thinking there was no relief for my pain. Never stop seeking the answer to your problems. There is a way to heal every illness. There is a way to heal every illness if you look for it. I'll put more details about healing methods and resources in the comment section so this doesn't become a book. Thank you for your time. Keep up the good job. Much love, joy, peace to you and all the viewers. Graham Meyer in the cursed land of Quebec. Cursed land? The land's probably fine. It's just the ding-dongs affecting it, right? Okay. Thanks for the email, man. Appreciate it. The answers to my 10 questions obviously is a little confusing for me. How did the answers come about? Who was asked the answers, and how did they get such a clear reply? Because I think all of the people who... Stupid screen shut down again. All of the people who I trust that are in contact with these beings, they never get they never get fluid, perfectly spoken answers like that. They just don't. So, who created those answers? Right? Anyway, moving along. And thank you so much for the healing mentions too. There's something to be said about that. The proof that we can heal is in our face nonstop. I mean, how do we slice a frickin' chunk? I'm slicing myself nonstop, and I'm healing rapidly nonstop. I can cut a chunk off my hand. Boom, it grows over, creates new skin. So, why can we not heal every single thing else in our bodies if we can have that blatant example of craziness that we can heal a part of us? Why can't we heal the rest of us? Right? Including our heart, our lungs, our liver, our organs. Doesn't make sense. We cannot heal all that ourselves, to me. So, I agree. There's other ways out there without a doubt. Just maybe we were actually steered in the wrong direction when it comes to our health, right? Anyway, whole another rabbit hole. This is titled, Well, Steve, here we go again. These are recent emails, you guys, right? Well, Steve, here we go again. That was fast. You read my encounters tonight out loud. Okay, you were requesting date. I sent it. It was just 3 days ago on Sunday, August 13th. It's now Wednesday, August 16th at 10:23 in the evening. So, as you wanted more information, I guess it's kind of sketchy on face-to-face, as my first encounter was by pure accident. I see prints often, but only when the soil is moist enough to get a deep enough print. I probably just caught it off guard when my dog, Jiggy, went out, and I turned around to get the hatch closed as Jiggy went nuts. I had to snicker when you were trying to pronounce what I had written. Yes, when you get old, you are incontinent and make frequent trips to the bathroom, and meeting that apple thief really didn't give me much choice, lol. Incontinent, isn't that inconsistent? I think that's probably why I stumbled. Now, as to the eyes, the word sclera refers to the whites of the eyes. I've become very wary going out at night, as I'm night blind, but more so as to not be out if these critters are out, and I would not know it and startle them. That face-to-face happened in the sweet light of dusk, so I'm inside by then. I have some little dogs called Chinese cresteds that at night go off like they had heard an intruder. That is the last 3 to 4 times a week. And that is at least 3 to 4 times a week. Sometimes it's the elk, but mostly I can't see anything after dark. Lots of elk here, and that big area on my map is a pasture, but winter and spring Canadian geese nesting area. So I guess that these beings get to forage for eggs during nesting season. After the other neighbor found out from Jane that the big fella had startled me getting apples, they erected a brand new 8-foot-tall cedar plank fence along my side of the property, as if that could detour one of those critters if they really wanted to cross into the land. Most of the time I get uneasy, and so maybe it's a good thing I get inside. This mind speak you talk about has never hit me, so maybe they don't see me as a threat, but have no idea how to deal with me yet. So I'll just have to rely on being uneasy, and it might be that the sixth sense is all I've got. Sometimes I see areas of the trees rustle, with the younger fir trees and deciduous trees along the edge of the property. Glimpses of dark somethings just behind moving, and the young fir tree tops moving, like something is parting between them. Then I'm back inside my upholstery shop or motorhome. Gotta give them space. After seeing that first one, I'm not inclined to brandish a firearm at one, as an AR is too wimpy. My 1911 Russian Mosin Nagant long-range sniper rifle holds only 5 rounds, and my one-shot modern 50 caliber muzzleloader only holds 1 arrow point at a time. If you don't intend to eat what you kill, don't shoot. Plus, I'm just wary and not afraid. They look way too human. Did you hear that? One more time. Don't you love it when I do that? They look way too human. It wouldn't be right. They gotta be just providing for their family, unit, or tribe. I can keep the peace easier as I plan to spend my last days here. So, Steve, I'm glad you showed concern for my welfare here. I've had a great life, and I'm pretty darn healthy for 71. The realtor who did the financing on this property
Says he has texted you on some other site, Rumble or something. He has had encounters on horse trails around Joint Base Lewis McChord Army Base here, which is within minutes from me. I'll keep you posted when I have any new encounters with these beings, and yes, I keep my phone on me and on constantly. It has 3 cameras and is a 5G Samsung, so if I'm quick enough to get a picture, I'll send it. But hope these powers to be don't want to hurt them, as I'm not being threatened at all. Here's a photo of my eastern view of Mount Rainier in my backyard. Enjoy, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you, sweetie, so very much. Tona, Carlo, Roy, Washington, and my apple thieves. All right, I'm going to hold off putting the photos. I'm not going to put the photos on there, right? I mean, there's not many people that would actually need those photos, but who would? People who don't have good intentions. And you know as well, Mount Rainier, you probably know more about the history, more detailed than us, I'm guessing, about how many people have gone missing on Mount Rainier. It's dozens. Gone. Why is that? Where'd they go? Right? Excuse me. And your realtor. If I get messages anywhere other than share my story at howtohunt.com, I'm probably not going to get them. I don't know how many different avenues there are on social media that's linked up to previous pages that I have. And Messenger, there's so many different Messenger inboxes, and I rarely, if ever, go there. It's very, very rare, but there's thousands of messages everywhere I go online. Thousands. I can't do it. So, if you would, you can get your realtor to send what he's got, what he knows, and what he wants everybody here to know to sharemystory@howtohunt.com, all right? And furthermore, directly to you for your property. If you don't want these guys, these beings, directly harassing you around your motorhome, I would suggest, I don't think it doesn't matter, you have to get an expensive one. You just get a cheap shithouse trail cam from Walmart or something and put it on all 4 corners of your motorhome. And I was told by manufacturers, the beam, the camera angle, the beam, the infrared trigger goes out at 45 degrees as it leaves the camera. So it will cover the entire motorhome if you go in all 4 corners. They don't like it. So another thing too, remember, for everybody listening, remember the pilot in Afghanistan that explained to us in detail how the IR pointer affected that being down there 5 miles away, nearly blinding it. It was acting like he was getting hit with a weapon, right? Now I wonder, for any of us, I wonder if someone were to come up with an IR pointer that had a fairly wide range once it reached out to a couple hundred yards. You know what would if I was to develop this, I would guess for an effective tool to keep something at bay. And I'm guessing that's going to be day or nighttime too, right? Obviously, because they don't hit the cameras in daytime, so they're seeing it. I wonder if somebody developed a pointer, which the point of impact from the laser, whatever you want to call it, the IR beam, if the IR beam would reach out to what? I don't know, let's call it a 50-foot wide beam once it got out to, say, 200 meters. If it could do that, I think that would be such an absolute effective deterrent of possibly having a not so good encounter. So our numerous fellow citizens who are walking home on a rural trail, road, being paralleled by something step for step, stopping when they stop, if you pointed a pointer like that at that direction, it's going to catch it. And it's going to go, whoa, I'm out of here. Right? I'm guessing. From what we've been learning from the people here, I think that'd be very effective. And that's going to immediately end their shitty, terrifying experience. I'm guessing. You got something going around your camp while you're in the tent. Point that pointer out the door and just do a 360 with it. Don't stop. Blind the shit out of it and let it know, hey man, get out of here. Right? What do you guys think? I think that would be very effective. I think. I think so. I'd almost put money on it at this stage of the game with the knowledge we're gaining, right? But anyways, get back to you, our fine lady from Washington State. Yeah, if you should possibly put those cameras out in four corners of your motorhome, either end of the fence, and lace up your property with the infrared light. And they don't like it. I think too that we think that they don't want to be recorded. That's probably reality. But for what we learned from our pilots, I have a feeling that the IR from our trail cameras is possibly the number one deterrent. It may be absolutely an absolute irritant, if not even possibly long-term damage to them. Maybe, right? Maybe. Just the IR beam from what we learned from our pilots. This is getting quite interesting, isn't it? Quite interesting. And then what? Do we even take that even farther? So now we've got 360 cameras, 360 adventure cameras like GoPro type that they film in 360. You know, those things are really popular right now. Now, what if somebody develops an IR pointer that beams out at a 360 that you can put on your backpack? I'll bet some of you entrepreneurs are going bonkers on this little idea, right? I wonder. Anyway, there you go. Lace up your property. You don't want that guy coming to your porch or any of his friends and tormenting you. Put up some trail cameras. And furthermore, I'll hold off on putting the photographs because I do not believe you need the pricks and the SUVs showing up and harassing you in your property, right? Because the people from the government or whoever, whatever organization they are not coming to our communities or properties because of us or to help us. They aren't, right? So they don't need to know shit. Okay, babbling. Look, there's even a pause factor on here. Crazy. All right, here we go. Here's another one. This is titled, these are all current recent emails. This is titled Trails of Destruction. Dear Steve, hello, my name is Lila, and you can say my name. Thank you for reading our encounters. It helps to know that others have experienced some of the same things. I live in East Tennessee, about 30 miles south of where Scott Carpenter lived. I never got to meet him, although we had exchanged emails. My grandparents owned a farm in a rural area, and I live on the last few acres that are still in the family. I've had several encounters with these beings since I was about 2 years old, and I am now 54. You asked a few weeks ago if anyone had ever checked out the trail of one of these things after hearing them crash through the trees. Yes, I did. About 5 years ago, I was sitting in my living room watching TV when I started hearing what sounded like trees being pushed down in the ditch line behind my house. This ditch line is about 100 feet away from the house. It is approximately 6 feet deep and 10 to 12 feet wide. It is filled with trees and brush. It was around 10 o'clock at night. We had several wolf hybrids, and they were not barking. They will usually bark at anything. I could hear branches breaking and things being thrown around. My husband and one of his friends were in the bedroom talking with the TV on in the room. They did not hear anything and didn't bother to check it out. We had recently put up a chain link fence in the backyard to keep the dogs in, and I could tell that it was pissed about the fence. I could feel the anger coming from the sobbing. This went on for over an hour. The next day I went outside to check for damages, and there was nothing. No broken branches, no trail, nothing. The only thing I found was a 12-inch footprint outside the fence. We have a rental property about 75 feet to the side of our house. I asked the renter if she had heard anything the night before, and she said that she had heard what sounded like something big going around the back of the trailer and pacing back and forth. She was in the front bedroom and needed to go to the bathroom. There's a sliding glass door between the bedroom and the bathroom, and she was too scared to go past it to go. She thought whatever it was that was pacing outside was waiting for her to pass that door. As I said, I've had experiences with Sasquatch since I was 2. Some of my first memories are of the strange-looking man that would watch me through the window when I was going to sleep. I've experienced mine speak and sometimes their emotions. I've had them chase me through the fields on our farm. On at least 2 occasions, I've had one try to grab me. What? It's kind of weird. Okay, I'll keep reading. The main thing they seem to like to do is spy on us. They're constantly watching. I've had so many things happen that I could write a book. Maybe I should. This is beginning to be long, so I will share more later. Again, thank you for reading this, Lila. Lila, appreciate it. On at least 2 occasions, I've had one try to grab me. It's really, really hard for me to imagine one of these beings not succeeding in anything they want to do. So maybe you should share with us the details of what happened that day. For my curiosity anyways, because I'm curious. I'm curious to know how. It's like for me, as an example, when I was guiding up in the north for many years, I often you get people who would come hunting, customers, hunters from around the globe, and they would never really admit it, but I can read humans like I can read a book. I've always had to have that skill since I was a young boy, obviously, right? And I've always been able to read people. And I will always get, you get people get off the bush plane and they'll, as soon as they say, I'm not scared of grizzly bears, well, they're telling me they are. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't even think of saying that. But anyway, I would always have people that were, I'd call it paranoid. And I could tell they were scared of bears. They were scared the whole time. And it was actually potentially ruining their experience because they were spending too much time worrying about a grizzly bear. That might be a grizzly bear. Where's a grizzly bear? I'm going to get attacked by a grizzly bear. And you know what? What I would just tell people, I go, look, here's the deal. A grizzly bear is so intelligent, it's basically somewhat spooky when you use that compared to the intelligence of other wildlife. It's spooky how intelligent they are. Furthermore, even though I'm sitting on a horse and I got enough firepower to dump an elephant, if a grizzly bear seriously wants to take me down and kill me, it's going to. If it's premeditated murder for whatever reason and a grizzly bear wants to end my time, it's going to, and there's nothing I can do about it. Absolutely nothing I can do about it. And that's why I try to encourage the hunters, just don't worry about it, man, accept it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing to do about it. Anyways, sorry about the babble, but on that note, for me to picture one of these advanced beings wanting to grab a human being of any age, I just can't see it not succeeding. I mean, think about it. One of these beings wants to get its hands on you, it's going to. Right? How hard would it be? I've always said, if it was coming down to hunting, humans have got to be the easiest thing on the planet to hunt down. The easiest. We're nothing. If I wanted to, it doesn't. Pick out any person in my neighborhood, and if you want to challenge me to get as close as I can to them without them knowing, I would be able to do it at an arm's length. Easy. What's the first thing I would do? All right, Steve, let's see how close you can get to a human in your rural neighborhood to potentially put my hands on them and grab them physically. Okay, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to sit in the forest, watch the pattern of what time they go to work, what time they go to the mailbox, whatever. I'm going to look for what cover there is, how close I can get to them, and I'm going to go sit there concealed, knowing they're going to be there at that specific time, and I'm going to grab them. Done deal. I think it would probably take me 2 days max to get my hands on one of my neighbors as they exit their home without them knowing. Piece of cake. Right? Piece of cake. So how is one of these beings not going to succeed in grabbing a human being when they really want to? So if you could, for that curiosity of mine, if you got the time, if you would, email us back and explain to us how that came about. What makes you feel that one of these beings was trying to get you but couldn't? I'd love to hear about that experience, just for my own knowledge base and what we can share with people here. Right? Now, I'm going to pause this a second and find another one. Appreciate you sending that in. Please email more, all right, with your knowledge. All right, here we go. Here's another one. I think this is older, right? It's definitely going to be older, I believe. April 28th, 2021. Is either one that says emailed in or, no, that would have been what it was mailed in to me. All right, here we go. Listen to this. is titled My Experience in Kansas, of all places. My name is Katie Cohen, pronounced cow and an cow and an N. Cowan. Gotcha. Feel free to use my name. I have nothing to hide. I don't really give a shit what people think of me and my beliefs. As I'm 29, going to be 30 in the middle of May. Good for you. You're a brave, independent woman. Love it. Free woman. I live in the middle of nowhere. Blink and you miss town. Arlington, Kansas. I've only found your channel in the recent months, and I have to say that I love what you're doing for the people who feel like they don't have a voice or are ridiculed and made to believe that they're crazy for what they've experienced. I believe in the paranormal and Sasquatch and other cryptids alike, and I think anyone who says otherwise are just narrow-minded idiots who think that there's absolutely nothing else out there. Yeah, but just think about how comfortable they are. It must be a very comfortable place to be able to put your head in the hole in the sand. I've had experiences throughout my life, although it's mainly in the paranormal side of things. But most recently, in the last few years, I've had increasing numbers of encounters with Sasquatch and possibly even Dogman, though I try not to relive those very few encounters if I can help it. Okay, that's enough of the rambling. The one encounter with Sasquatch that I've had that stands out the most happened in the summer of 2019. I was with a group of people that included my brother, sister-in-law, and their kids, and we were night fishing on the North Fork of the Ninnasca River, hoping to get some channel cat just outside of the small town of Castleton, Kansas, if you could call it a town, really. We had been fishing out there before during the day and night, and nothing's really happened. We just put my nieces and nephews in their vehicle because they steadily falling asleep when it all started. It was an awkward sentence. We had just put my nieces and nephew in their vehicle because they steadily falling asleep when it all started. The only way it could be described was that there was large rocks or small boulders being thrown rhythmically into the river close to us, but just out of sight. It was dark, but the moon was full or close to it. That it wasn't pitch black. My brother made the comment that it was probably just some cattle, since we were in the middle of farm country. But I felt the need to remind him that the river was too high for it to be cattle sounding that rhythmic. So no sooner did I say that, it started happening behind us, and then started going back and forth. The only other sounds that could be heard that night was the occasional cricket or frog, and a pack of coyotes that we heard once a few hours earlier. After a few minutes of, let's say, large rocks being thrown into the river, my brother takes a deep breath and in his booming dad voice yells, "Knock it the F off." Suddenly it stopped, and it didn't pick back up again while we were there at least. At that point, I heard my youngest niece start crying because she had woken up, and she was scared of the dark at that point. So, to help her go back to sleep, I went and turned on the headlights to my car, which was behind the vehicle. After I had gotten her calmed down and back to sleep, I went to my lawn chair to wash the line I had in the water. I don't know what it was, but something made me slightly turn my head to the left and just look in that general direction. What I saw shocked and confused me just a little bit at the time. The lights of my car were reflecting off a pair of eyes, and what caught my attention was the color. The only way to describe the color was that it was along the lines of a reddish amber. And I watched this pair of eyes for a good 30 to 45 minutes, if not an hour. They would sway occasionally side to side, disappearing briefly behind what I noticed a couple days later was a tree, like he was just curious and checking us out. At least that's what my gut was telling me. And then suddenly, the eyes were gone. Shortly after that, we cut bait and headed out for the night, which is around 2 a.m. Like I mentioned briefly, we went fishing again a couple days later, but this time it was during the day, and I immediately zoned in on where I'd seen those eyes. From what I could tell, without actually going up to the tree, What I had seen was roughly 8 feet tall, and the distance between its eyes was a good 6 inches. I never told my brother, his family, or our friends that went out with us until much, much later. But I was at my papa's house, my mom's dad, with my mom and uncle, and I was listening to some of the stories of encounters that my uncle had had with Sasquatch, and close to that area, his encounters sounded more dangerous. My mom, being the first person that I told of what I'd seen, encouraged me to tell my uncle. And when I did, he confirmed that what I'd seen was what he had heard to be a level 2 Sasquatch. Level 2! Now, I haven't been out there much in the last couple of years due to my work schedule and the fact that the people I went with, namely my brother and his family, had moved out of state. And during that summer, we had gone out there several times. In the middle of the night after that encounter, well, I hadn't seen the eyes again. I felt the feeling of being watched from the same area, but I never felt threatened or in danger. And honestly, I kind of felt protected in a sense. Whenever I felt the feeling of being watched, I would just look over, smile, and nod, and just carry on doing whatever I was doing. Now, I've had several experiences since then and in different areas, especially the eastern part of Oklahoma. And there have been a few times where I felt the feelings of apprehension and anxiety, but it never lasted long, like it was a warning that they knew I was there and were making the fact that they were known, at least to me. Anyways, I've rambled long enough, and I just wanted to get my most memorable encounter out there and be heard by those who would believe me, because there are several people in my life who loudly voice their opinions on that particular subject. Thanks again for what you've been doing, and keep up the good work. And for those jackass snowflakes and politicians out in the world that are doing more harm than good, I just have 2 words for you. F-O. Sincerely, Katie. P.S. Don't share the following information, but please, if you'd like to get back to me, my phone number, email. Gotcha. All right, I gotcha. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for being brave and coming forward. And don't hesitate in sharing more, all right? And especially if it's more from people in your community, too, who have had firsthand experiences, okay? All right. What do you think? Should I go one more? I'm going to go one more. Have I read this? Wow, some weird photos of this one. Holy. Okay. Hold on a minute. All right. Here's another one. It's titled, It's Real. Beast of the Marsh. Dear Steve, I watch your program and like listening to the stories you share from other people. I'm an American Black Indian with several bloodlines, and I can honestly say that I've had some interesting encounters. I'm 64 years of age, and I believe that there are people who will not believe that we are the only ones who occupy. Okay, sorry. I'm 64 years of age, and I believe that there are people who will not believe that we're the only ones who occupy this great land. I'll start with the latest incident and go back to the first strange findings in one encounter. Excuse me. In August 2018, I woke to some fresh air. I went to the second bedroom in my second floor apartment at the time and sat near the window on my futon. I was sitting there in the darkness with my back to the window. Mind you, I've lived near a marsh. Anyway, I started hearing something moving around out back. I didn't get up to look out the window because I was just relaxing, enjoying the breeze at 4:30 in the a.m. I sat quietly and continued to listen. Then there was this snarl. I'll never forget it. I leaned up, checked the time. By then it was 4:40 a.m. Whatever it was kept moving around, and finally it left. I decided to wait until morning and walk back behind the building to see what I could find. I want you to know that this snarl wasn't any sound I've ever heard before. I was more curious than scared. Below you will see a smudged print, which looks like a footprint. It also had arranged the rocks out back in front of the tool shed. I was in awe. Right away, I knew it was the beast of the marsh. Here are the rocks that the marsh beast was arranging. It appears to be an intelligent beast, but also can be brutal if need be. I used the stick to measure the smudged footprint. I told my eldest son about what happened, and he said about 5 a.m. on the same morning, something was going into the marsh, and he could hear branches breaking as it was walking out there. He said the crashing of the brush was loud, and he could tell it was something big. No one would probably believe me, but I wanted to show you and others what I found. Story 2. I came back to Colorado in August 2017 and stayed a couple months with my eldest brother and his girlfriend. I would always get up early and go out on the porch. My son, my brother, and I were all neighbors at the time living by the marsh. On this quiet morning, I was having a cigar and my coffee when I looked over by one of the neighbors' shed who lived almost on the marsh, and I noticed something walking. It was between 9 a.m. and 9:20 a.m. I thought that can't be a man at this hour, walking in the marsh in a gorilla suit. I was captivated. Taking a picture wasn't an option because I was trying to process what I was looking at. I knew right away that it was a Sasquatch. I was mentally overwhelmed at the fact he was so close to people, but I'm not surprised. Anyway, he walked back into the brush, and it's almost like he disappeared. I believe because that marsh is thick in the summer because of all the rain, and it is considered a wildlife habitat. There's wolves, coyotes, foxes, hawks, lynx, and mountain lions. It's all kinds of animals roaming through there, plus that creek back there goes all the way up into the mountains. That was a strange morning. I didn't hear no birds chirping either. This will be forever etched into my memory. The beast looked to be at least 8 feet tall, cold black hair, pointed head at the top, and very muscular looking. Scary and creepy looking. He was taller than the neighbor's shed. The second photo are the rocks that were out back. Story 3. While visiting my mother, who was in a care facility over in Overland Park, Kansas, I came across this footprint, which is the third photo. The night before it had rained. I decided to take a smoke break, so I went outside and stood in the shade of one of those trees on the property. While standing there, I looked down because I always watch where I'm going or standing. When I looked down, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The other footprint wasn't as defined because the grass was too wet, but the other print stood out like a sore thumb. I couldn't help but take a picture. And I'll never believe it's a big cat. I'm sure some people would say that, but it doesn't look like a cat print. I mean, one of those big cats which roam Missouri and Kansas. They've been spotted from time to time roaming through neighborhoods. Excuse me, but before I close, I'd like to share with you one more interesting piece of all this. One of my sisters live in the suburbs of Missouri, and I went out at about 12-something in the a.m. to sit out on her porch. At the time, several dogs were barking. Mind you, she lives near a lake. Then all of a sudden they stopped barking, and it became so quiet. Quiet as in what my grandmother would say, you can hear a mouse piss on cotton. Oh, well, that's a good one. Then all of a sudden, the screams of a beast I had never heard before. The thing was howling and howling and howling, and the dogs didn't make a sound. In my mind, and what I do understand, this is an alpha beast. This thing was so powerful, it probably kills bears. I've always believed that probably meant that they ate such beasts and other unexplained strange happening and creatures. It's just that some of us are fortunate enough to have these encounters and share them with others. It's amazing. I'm a veteran. I've never liked sleeping out in the woods in pitch darkness in a tent. Never, because my senses were always at high alert, which greatly affected my sleep, because I can never imagine coming out of the backside of any animal, if you know what I mean. LOL. It's where I expect to be one day. Always have. I know it's not funny, but many people have been eaten by wild animals, and that's something I don't find tasteful. Thank you for allowing me to share my stories, Steve. I always wanted to find a forum of people who not only have an open mind, but keep it real. And it's something you do on your program. Please be safe out in those woods, because you know wild animals are more cunning than human, and before a man can draw his weapon to shoot, you better have a knife too, because at least with a knife, no one can make a beast back off. One can make a beast back off to some degree, unless you stick him in the right place and bring it down for the count. Kill it before it kills you. Much love always, and yes, I enjoy listening to your stories and the peaceful places you venture into. I love the outdoors, But being eaten by a beast isn't my idea of having a good time in the woods. Feel me? Well, here's a photo of the marsh. Oh, and hey Steve, did you notice that this footprint doesn't look like a human footprint? That's the first thing I noticed, then the size. I'm really glad I didn't look out the window because I probably would have woke all the neighbors screaming. It's the footprint I found in Overland Park, Kansas. And here's the one from Colorado. Neither look like human footprints because they're totally something of another creature. Oh, and by the way, I like horror films with beasts, not people in sci-fi, lol. I understand that sometimes pictures come up blurry, but at least you have photos coming from me that people can actually see. And these are cell phone pictures. I really wish I could have took a picture of the beast of the marsh, but maybe fear kept me glued to my seat. LOL. Here's a better photo of the marsh. It's beautiful. All right. The rocks are a little odd, for sure. I'm not going to sit and count them, but I want to it's all mathematically correct. There's some deep ass toes. That's dry ground in that photo. Those are deep toes in the grass. All right. Gotcha. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 photos. Gotcha. Appreciate it. Keep sharing too, all right? You got any more knowledge, you got experiences, make sure you share it here. Share with the people. Share with somebody. Speak out loud about it and don't let anybody stop you. All right? Don't let anybody stop you. All right. Moving along. Quick mention, quick note. You know, last evening I was pretty tired, but I know tired can be an excuse sometimes for people being easily triggered or cranky or lashing out, but it wasn't tiredness that made me cranky about that park ranger abusing the citizens. And by abuse, I mean destroying the evidence of what they saw, what people should see, what people should be aware of, intentionally destroying that evidence, and then to top it off, costing the people money and finding them like they were bad people intentionally where it shouldn't have been. So, in other words, that is like usually you're hearing about a lot of people in different areas today and a lot of different topics who are having a massive negative impact on society today, right? And I'm a firm believer that the people should be in the position by now of enough's enough, no more. However, we rarely do we have the names of the individuals who are having this negative impact on their own citizens intentionally. And maybe this park ranger is possibly one of these people that needs to be dealt with, right? Maybe that sounds harsh, maybe it doesn't. I don't give a shit how it sounds. The fact is that people have had enough, and it's time to turn it around. Who's going to turn it around, right? Start at the bottom, work your way up. We'll consider the park ranger one of the pennies. You take care of your pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. The dollars being the top of the pile. Who knows? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if we can find out who is definitely, intentionally keeping truth from the society, from our community, like this individual, all over him like a fat kid on a Smartie. Yeah, we're going to be on your ass because your ass is paid for by ours, our backs. You grew up, one of us, in the neighborhood, playing baseball, going camping, having fun, going to school. And all of a sudden you work against those same people you grew up with. What's up with that? Yeah, I'm a firm believer that that person needs to be contacted and spoken to by the people, right? Go ahead and sling your dick with your badge and your gun. I don't give a shit. And the people should stop giving a shit too when it comes to the dark side, right? And upholding respect. Respect for the people. It's about the people, right? I could battle for quite a while on this topic, obviously, especially today. But anyway, yeah. I think if we can, if I could, I would get a hold of this man, feel him out, speak to him, find out what his side of the story is, and if he's let my gut decide the rest. Maybe he's an absolute sleazy dirtbag. Well, let's make him a celebrity, right? Make him a celebrity for it. Give him what he deserves. Let him reap what he's sown, right? Listen to me go off. All right, I'll tone down. What else? I think that's about it on the black bear and the predator thing. I believe I heard a rumor that black bear took down and killed a man not far from here, just recently the other day. Very unfortunate, but it happens.